Excellent. Excellent.
How's it going?
Mr. Grayson, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. I had to download the Zoom app back.
Excellent.
Sorry about
No,
that.
all real. Nice to have you here once again.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for a moment. For you is so we have the recording on lock. That's guaranteed. That's on lock.
Okay, nice.
That's absolutely that is done. That is done.
Gotcha.
We're using
Yeah, like I said,
Zoom.
I'm glad you know how to work that stuff because I have no clue.
Really? Okay, awesome. Excellent. Excellent. This is splendid. This is splendid. Okay, okay. It's me, your boy Ollie D, back at it again. We're here with my man Grayson Parker, the one and only. We're happy to have him here with us today. We're looking forward to asking him some questions and get inside the mind of Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker, what are your current fitness goals?
Yeah, so right now it's been kind of tough. I've been like recovering from a sickness a little bit. Like everybody's been getting it. But right now I'm kind of like maintaining my weight a little bit. I've been bulking. I've been, strength training a lot, hitting PRs, prioritizing that kind of like a power building technique, approach. But, for right now, it's mainly just about like maintaining the strength that I've gained. And, in about a month or so, I'm going to start to try to clean up the diet a little bit, and then gradually lose some weight, cut, for the summer, prepare for that, and just take it as it goes. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
Excellent. So it seems as if you had a fantastic time bulking. It's a shame that I hear that you're getting over an
Oh yeah,
illness,
definitely.
but you know what's good about an illness is the fact that you got over it. So we're very
Exactly.
happy to hear that you overcame
Definitely.
that illness. Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
You're bulking and strength training for quite some time, and you've been smashing PRs after PRs after PRs. Extremely impressive. Bravo. If no one has told you bravo, bravo.
Hey,
It's nice
well, I
to
appreciate
see.
you. I appreciate
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to give accolades as they are due, and I believe an accolade is much overdue. So I would like to present that to you. Yes, sir.
it. Thanks, man.
So, as far as maintaining your strength goes, which I'm sure that you'll be capable of doing, have there been any times where you've bulked before and then you've cut and you notice a reduction in strength or not having the same zeal or even the same amount of energy going into the gym?
Yeah, definitely. I've had really bad ways of going about that because when I was newer to the gym, I didn't have like the same advice and knowledge I do now. Um, the advice I've gained from other people, research, I've learned that it takes longer. It's not like a now thing. When it comes to cutting and bulking, so you have to take your time, and that comes down to like your metabolism. So, when I cut, I was just like, let's do this now. Let's just drop calories, like just from whatever to hardly anything. And what that does is, yeah, you'll lose weight pretty fast. But what that comes with is, your strength will drop. You'll feel bad quickly. And then you'll hit a plateau. And it's not really going to be as efficient in the long run as if you were to just do it gradually. And that's the approach I took. So, yeah, I did lose a lot of strength. I didn't do it the right way. And then bulking was bad as well. Like, the diet didn't go the best. It was really, bulking doesn't mean eat whatever you want. I think a lot of people that hear that word take that out of context. There's clean bulking, which is I think the best approach. I think you should eat what you're able to eat in clean foods, and that's very hard to do. Sometimes if you're trying to get to a certain degree of mass, you do have to add in some foods that aren't the best. But for the most part, you do want to still have prioritize clean foods, especially starting your day. That's how I like to do it. But it was just whatever at first, like my first bulk, and it did work. I got stronger. I definitely gained weight, but it just wasn't good weight, and it was harder. Once I got to that point to get to a certain like respectable physique. So now it's like a safer approach with being able to know how to eat clean. Getting to a certain weight, at a healthy body fat to where it's not as hard to drop that body fat to wherever you're trying to get to. It's not as long of a road now, that knowledge.
True. True. Thank you so much for providing that for us. That seems to
Oh
be
yeah.
a topic that's very confusing
It's
for most. It very much seems to be some things that are
definitely.
misconstrued. Um, and I appreciate you for bringing light to that because many new lifters, especially, they come into the gym, they're excited, they're full of energy, and they just want to get big. And sometimes, they're not being influenced by the best people, and they're following behind people that may be engaging in activities that they're not engaging in, and they're expecting to see results that they're seeing. And when it doesn't exactly go that way, they're discouraged or they're led to believe that the gym doesn't work and they abandon it, and that's something growing in our community, and that's that's an issue or a problem. Of course, that's always going to be something that happens in this community, though we want to minimize that when we get the opportunity by ensuring that they're informed correctly of what to expect.
Definitely.
Cutting the season more often than not, because initially when I there was a point in time when I was a little bit younger, I would cut and I did it too. I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm eating X amount of calories. I'm eating 3,200 calories. Okay, I'm just gonna cut them to 1,600. I'm just
Right.
why not? I'm like I'll be shredded by in a month from now, right? And did I
Exactly.
accomplish my
Yep.
goals? Yes. Was I pleased with my physique overall? Not. It wasn't exactly what I had anticipated. I found myself having to go right
Right.
back to a bulking cycle and then focusing on specific muscle groups that I felt like were underdeveloped at the time. And I wouldn't say that
Hmm.
they were underdeveloped, but I would say that it was more so due to the fact that I cut so quickly. Um,
Right.
so that is def. Thank you so much for expressing that.
Yeah. And my this happened to me as well, but influencers online, and so what they see is shredded. They see lean, and that's what gets marketing. That's what gets all the businesses to get them into their industry and get the selling, getting their codes, whatnot. And when you don't have a base to cut on, and then you're still trying to cut, which is what I did at first. I was just obsessed with like abs and all that. But a lot of people should learn like building a foundation, getting all that at first, and then getting cutting down, and because it's really nothing to cut, when you're starting. And that was something that I had a hard time with as well, just to add that in. Um, which everybody has different goals, of course, but from a bodybuilding context, like you do need to be at a certain sort of mass before you can get down to that, sculpt down what you're trying to see. Now if you're like a you know athlete or of some sort, basketball or whatnot, you're not really prioritizing that, of course. But if it's in the bodybuilding context, then yeah, you should be at like a certain spot, or certain weight rather, before you can really worry about cutting. I would recommend that for most like younger guys, especially.
Most of them not even experiencing their what they would call newbie gains. They don't realize that they don't have to do much if they were to just be there, implement progressive overload, even if they don't know what that is. It's a fairly easy concept to explain. It sounds complicated, but it's really just lift bigger weights over time, you get bigger. And you explain that to them and you put that in their mind. The biggest thing is compound movements. I
Yep.
find that to be one of the biggest factors or one of the biggest tools that I used and learned quite quickly was the key to that foundational strength. Bench press, deadlift, overhead press for me, bent over barbell row, and heavy barbell squats.
Yep.
Everything else for me was okay. This is an accessory movement. This is fantastic, and it will get to a point in your strength where you begin to plateau, and you will have to start delving into some of those accessory movements. Like, for example, you're benching, your one rep max is getting really high. You're having difficulty with the lockout. Okay, perhaps if you're having difficulty with the lockout, you may want to do some form of tricep extensions to help you with that lockout, or whether that's like overhead press. Maybe you have difficulty with your lower back stability. So now you have to work on your lower back so that you can handle those heavier weights. It's no longer becomes a thing like your shoulders are weak, even though your shoulders, because of their freedom of movement, are inherently weaker. You still would need to, they're still, because they're compound movements and multiple things are at play, the lower back would have to be something that would have to be strengthened in order to lift those heavier loads. And quite often that's not something that's mentioned when we're talking about the compound exercises, because it's just like you can't just do all the accessories. No, that doesn't work. Well, it works, but to a degree. And just like
Yeah.
you can't just do all heavy compounds. You can, however, there will be some spots in your physique or some weaknesses that you may have to clean up utilizing those accessory muscles. So I found it to be a meeting of the two, a nice mesh of the two, and that's something that only comes with experience or someone that's going to cut your learning curve. Back to the beginners, something that they most of the time they don't know. So even finding a good workout plan for them, because they're following whatever their favorite fitness influencer is doing, and typically they're doing significantly more work, what I'm saying, by definition, whatever the volume is times the amount of weight that they're moving, they're doing more overall work than what's recommended for someone of their body type or shoot their physical journey, because like I said before, they may be engaging in other activities and they may not be able to handle that workload, especially not in the beginning.
Definitely.
What is one exercise you couldn't do any other exercise? I tell you, Mr. Grayson,
Yeah.
I tell you, only one of you're only capable of doing one compound movement. I'm looking down at your sheet right now. Yeah, you only have one compound movement. What compound movement are you keeping?
Compound. Okay. So
Now, I know deadlifts are your favorites.
yeah.
I know they're your
Yep.
favorite. You love them
Yep.
deadlifts. You love them
Yep.
deadlifts.
You know, I don't know if I would keep the deadlift just because of the way they're taxing on the body. Um, they've definitely grew my back for sure. When I learned how to do it the proper way, it definitely took a bunch of trial and error, a bunch of film, a bunch of looking back at what I was doing wrong and assessing what to do differently. But I think a lot of people would benefit from doing just regular barbell back squats. I think that is the most important compound lift because it is synergistic to deadlifting. Like it will help your deadlift, and then vice versa. You're working your posterior chain, your hamstrings, quads, everything. Your core is getting involved. So there's a lot of involuntary muscles that are being worked, but um, legs, are the main mover, or it's the main muscle that increases like your IGF-1. So when you're working out, increases growth hormone, releases all of that. And then a lot of people just avoid squatting because it's hard, it's difficult to do. And I think that's a great workout and it's a great thing to practice with correct form. It really did grow my legs a lot. Like I had this was kind of a blessing in disguise. I don't know if I ever told you the story, but when I was doing bench press and got a like wrist injury, I was warming up actually. It wasn't like a PR or anything. It was like a warm up with like 155 or thing. At the time, I wasn't at my old gym. Helped me get the bar off my chest. So I was, in a little, not a cast, but like a little wrap for a couple months. So, I did legs here and there, but not like hard. So what that made me do, because I couldn't even pick up weight, I couldn't pick up anything without it hurting. So I had to train legs every day. So I started doing squats, and that's when I built my legs from purely squatting. And then of course you'd add in leg press and some stuff here and there, but like it was squats. It really blew my legs up, mainly the quads. And learning the correct technique, learning how to do the correct depth and all that, I think that's really beneficial for people, like the lower back, all of that. It strengthens everything pretty much in the lower body. So I think that would be something I'd stick to as far as compound movements. And then like for upper body, there's always, you know, machines, cables. You can always work around, bench press. It's not like mandatory. It's just fun for a lot of people. But there's always other things you can do.
Absolutely. I find it very interesting that you say that, odd, even actually spectacular, because for me, you remember when you explained your injury in your
Right.
wrist, and that ultimately led you to squatting significantly more and more often and developing your legs. For me, the exact opposite happened. I actually was squatting and I
Mm-hmm.
hinged too far forward when I was coming down, and I actually crushed both my thumbs. So,
Uh,
right. So, because of that,
okay.
it made it to a point where I couldn't squat, but I would still be trying to do so. Probably wasn't the best idea, but I was thirsty for the gains.
Right.
Long end of the story, the long end of the story is I told myself, well, I can't currently squat. I can't squat well. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go play basketball. I'm still trying to squat. I end up playing basketball. I'm going up for a rebound. My arm gets caught and my shoulder ends up getting dislocated. So I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
goodness, crazy. I'm thinking I'm not going to
Not
be able
even
to
gym
finish.
related.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, I'm not going to give it the weights, but like, I'm done as far as being able to squat. And I didn't think it was going to impact my squat. I was just like, okay, well, I crossed
Mhm.
my fingers. I think I can still squat. To try and get up under the bar, which is another thing that I don't believe is mentioned often. Even the proper bracing and wedging
Yep.
yourself against the bar as tightly as possible. Some people look at it and be like, oh, they're showboating or whatever have you. If they genuinely understood what the squat was and how important it
Yeah.
is to ensure that you have your feet placed on the ground properly so that you can get maximum power delivery, especially when you're pushing heavier weights. They'll understand it's almost pertinent to ensure that your shoulders are properly placed, especially depending on
Definitely.
if you're doing a high bar or a low bar squat. But back to the story, I ended up getting injured in my arm and I went to go try and squat and I couldn't even wedge myself under the bar because it would cause so much pain. So I told myself, well, I can't really do squats. So I started to do some things like goblet squats or some other variation to fill in. But
Yeah.
I told myself, I guess I'm just gonna have to bench. So I'm over there benching. It got to a point where I was just benching, like weeks straight. There were other exercises sprinkled in, but it was only bench.
Right.
It would be
Okay.
something to the degree of like maybe 12 to 15 sets bench. And it was like that every day. Kid you not. Like,
Yeah.
well, and I'd be like 15, 12 sets bench, we're hitting it. And that's now I was a little bit younger, so that could play into the part where I was just like I didn't care. I was down
You,
in
you were
weight
doing
type of food I could consume.
you were able to
I
handle it though at that
Yeah,
age,
exactly.
or
I was just going for it. I was just going for it. Yeah,
yeah.
milk, protein powder, I had it all. I did not care. I was just like, we're hitting these weights. So I find it very cool that you had that experience with squatting, or excuse me, you had that experience with benching. So then you had to squat. I had that
Yeah.
experience with squat, so then I had to bench. So I thought that's really cool.
Yeah. No, definitely like blessing in disguise if you use it the right way,
For
not
real.
letting it discourage you, but just using it to do something else, progress in another way.
I'm unsure of your beliefs, as I haven't asked you up to this point. And this isn't to delve off into a religious chasm. I only mention that because that's what I believe. I believe God speaks to us through those situations because God is the only one that truly understands our traumas in life. So he has an understanding how you're going to interpret those traumas and how you're going to move forward because God looks at your life from an eagle's eye view, whereas we only look at it as through what we're experiencing in that point in time. So God knew, like, Grayson may not know this, but I'm actually going to help him strengthen his legs. And because he ends up strengthening his legs later on down the line, when he hits the 600-pound deadlift, he may not know that that was integral to his development 2 years ago when that occurred, but it was actually very integral to your development. So I found that to be quite
Oh, definitely.
interesting how God interacts with us on a day-to-day basis based on our health and our fitness.
No, definitely, definitely. Because, yeah, I mean, if I took everything into my own hands, like without any other guidance or anything happening in the process, most likely wouldn't have been where I'm at. Definitely. And like you said, that definitely led to the deadlift and then all the other stuff. So, um, yeah, for sure. Because like I said, I wouldn't have been doing the leg work or any of that stuff. So they did. I truly believe that as well. I agree with that.
Loves, love it. Excellent, excellent. So when you have days that you aren't as motivated, I'm not a big fan of
Right.
motivation. I don't really believe in it. But for the days that you aren't as motivated, what do you do?
So you just have to remind yourself, why you started, and it's just a routine. It's for me. I know once I get in there, it helps. Like if you have anything going on, it helps mood elevation. It just helps you feel good. It's for some people, it's the highlight of their day. They like to go in there and just work on themselves and build on something. So it's that's the main reason that pushes me to go in there. And then I have my community in there, and my friends and uh, everybody I can connect to. So it's just a great place that I've been able to you know make friends with, build on my body. So there's all kinds of reasons I can remind myself to just show up. Even if I'm not feeling the best. Those are the main takeaways.
Excellent. I definitely share some of those views. as far as the community. We have a very nice community at the YMCA. It's very
Definitely.
friendly, very inviting, positive attitudes for the most part. Um, for me myself, I feel as though to it's integral to always be in place solely when people that are not as experienced as you or are as experienced as you are going through darker periods in life, or they don't have the same strength, or currently their mental fortitude is waning based on the things that they're experiencing in the outside world. Quite often when I get to the gym, I don't the outside world almost disappears, and then I forget by the time I get outside. I'm like, wow, there's an outside to the gym. Like you'll forget until you walk outside and see the trees and the sky. I
It's,
think, wow, I forgot that I have to do this when I get home.
yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about that. That wasn't even, you know, and you can blame it on the endorphins. You can explain the
Yep.
chemical balances in the brain. I'm sure that has something to do with it. However, I find it to be fantastic to go somewhere where you can genuinely leave everything that's outside to a degree. And sometimes, even when it does meet you inside, very similar to how you figure out problems with a lift and how you can critique it slightly in order to increase your efficiency. I feel as though that happens to me when I'm in the gym from time to time. Maybe sometimes an idea drops in my head from something in the outside world that has nothing to do with health or fitness, but it becomes extremely clear to me once I'm working out and I'm in that type of community. So,
Definitely. It just increases your mood in a good way. Like it helps you look at things better. For anything, any problems, you leave better. Like that's just happens to me all the time. For any problem, really, it doesn't matter like the scenario. It just helps. Once you leave, you feel better.
absolutely.
Um, yeah.
Absolutely. So we're getting to the nitty gritty. We're getting to the nitty gritty. I'm not going to hold you too long. I'm having a fantastic time. Once again, I wanted to thank you for being here with me
Oh
today.
yeah.
What is the best fitness advice that you've ever received, Mr. Parker?
Best fitness advice I've ever received. Mainly just to be consistent and enjoy the process. And this was from old trainer that was at my old gym that I used to go to. Enjoy the process. Don't rush things. Um, when you enjoy the process, you're not constantly trying to chase something that's not there. You always appreciate what you have in the moment.
Sure.
So I think that was probably the best advice because then you're not, comparing yourself to other people. You're not trying to look at the downside of things like I wish I had this or I wish I could do this much or I looked like this. You just appreciate what you have and what you've earned in the moment, and then you can keep building on that. So once we like take up that mindset, it kind of helps a lot. It helps you appreciate like what you've earned and not look at other people that may have been doing something longer than you. So, or they're going to be better than you. So you can just compare yourself to you and then keep going from there. So that's probably the best advice I've gotten.
Excellent. That's a fantastic piece of advice. It seems as if that's applicable into multiple ventures, not just health and
Def-
fitness. So,
Especially because,
wow.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Hmm. Indeed, I like that piece of advice. Quite often we get so caught up in what we're trying to achieve, we never look back to admire what we have accomplished. Some people say there's nothing wrong with acknowledging what you overcame, not boastfully,
Right.
but just acknowledging it to realize that there was a start point. I'm beyond that start point, and it was because of it was because of the discipline. It was because of the
Yeah.
consistent effort that I put in that got me here. So I have the understanding now it's going to take patience, it's going to take time. However, I am consistent and I am found faithful with the time that I have to execute. Everything will come in due time. And very well, by the time you get to the place that you desire to get to, they may not even be what you desired. I know for me, that was the case in a lot of instances in the gym. When I got to the gym, I wanted a 365-pound bench press, and I got a 365-pound bench press, and I was happy.
Right.
And then I wasn't happy because now I want 405. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? You know what I'm saying? It was that kind of game.
Never ending cycle, but you do appreciate it when you can look back and um, I've done something I really am glad that I did because I didn't really see the meaning behind it when I started doing it, but like recording yourself, looking at progress photos, and some people think like from the outside looking in that that's like really self-absorbed, you're self-absorbed by doing that, but it's like they don't really understand. It's like you're tracking your progress. You're looking back at like how hard you worked to get where you're at now. So when you see your old self, you see old videos, old like what you were doing, say 2 years ago, comparing it to now, making like back-to-back videos, attaching them, seeing the progress, seeing your form bettering, all that stuff. It helps you really appreciate yourself more, like where you're at now, instead of wishing like you were better, because you will get there, but where you're at now compared to where you were says a lot about like how hard you worked. So I think that really helps.
Thank you very much. Would you say that there was so if you ever had a mentor or a fitness influencer that you looked up to, was there ever a point in time where you wanted to be like that particular person, and then you realize slowly over your journey that there are body types that greatly determine how your physique ends up lining up, even if you are participating in the same exercise as other individual? Was that ever something that you had to deal with?
Yeah, so I that's why I kind of deleted most of my social media besides like Instagram, and it's not healthy to compare yourself. I did at some point in time, and yeah, like everybody's different. I did realize that eventually. Like everybody's different. Nobody's gonna be, no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be exactly like someone else. You just need to be the best version of yourself. And you know, that took a while to learn, but you can always strive to have like a certain type of physique. There's different goals. Of course, there's more broad terms. There's like aesthetics. There's the strongman. There's powerlifting. There's all kinds of stuff. But you know, if you're looking at like a specific person, it's not possible. So and that's why like I'm not sure if I've told you about, like, I quit following even like influencers for the most part, because when you see stuff, you naturally, like, your brain, you just naturally want to compare yourself. And, there was a point in time I did that, and I did realize it's like, we all have different bodies, all body types, so there's no point.
I can say that that's an experience that I've definitely shared. Um, they speak of body dysmorphia, and do I believe that's true? Yes, absolutely. There have been instances in my fitness
Definitely,
journey. Oh, excuse me.
definitely, yeah. No, the
There,
body dysmorphia.
you'll to others may approach you and they may look up to you. They may even give you accolades for your accomplishments. They may even say that they like your physique. And to us, that's pleasing to hear, though in the same token, when we look in the mirror and we're not completely pleased with what we see, oftentimes we'll overlook that because we're like, well, I don't feel that way about myself. So I feel like I have to do more, and you may have already accomplished the goals that you want to accomplish. For example, you may have a six pack, but you just don't feel as if you're cut enough, but you have a six pack. So you're like,
Yep.
I'm going to get cut more. And then you think to yourself, well, why are you getting cut more? Well, I saw this guy, or I think it's possible for me to. And then I went to go research, and I found that The Rock does not have, he has poor ab genetics. Like,
Yeah.
he definitely works out. He definitely, I would like to say, takes care of himself for the most part. And he definitely lifts weights consistently, probably more weights and more volume than most people do. However, he just has
Yep.
ab genetics. Imagine
Hmm.
if he got consumed by the idea of having six pack abs. we wouldn't have The Rock, you know? So I believe that's a lesson for everyone, including myself, is of course, like you said before, and I really love the way that you said it, become the best version of yourself. You don't know exactly what
Mhm.
that best version of yourself is, but whenever you engage in an activity, you always know, you're always asking, everything is a decision. And you're always telling yourself, you're always picking one decision over the other because you think one is better or it serves your purpose or your goal better. Typically, sometimes you do things that don't exactly line up to it, and typically you would label those as bad decisions, right? Because bad and good are
Right.
all relative into the things that you're trying to accomplish. So I find that to be something that needs to get looked into. You know,
Definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, no, that is a good way of looking at things for sure. Because look up to people and take advice from people. Even like influencers will give advice, and you can get advice online and all this, but you have to implement it into your own body and your own way of training and how you feel things, how you see things in the gym, and because not everything's going to be the same. There's not like one way to do something. So if someone tells you something, you're going to have to maybe tweak things a little bit, because things work for some people that don't for others. So that is a good way of looking at things for sure.
So I enjoyed having you here, Mr. Parker.
I appreciate you for
Yes,
sure.
sir. Yes, sir. Is there anything, any last words that you would have to say to the audience?
Just keep consistent, keep thinking positive, and yeah, I mean, I look forward to being on another one soon. If there's ever a time that you want
Absolutely.
me on, I'll be happy to join.
That would be lovely. I would thoroughly enjoy that. I look forward to speaking to you soon, Mr. Parker. It's once
For
again, it's
sure,
your
for sure.
boy Ali D Avocado here with Mr. Grayson Parker. It was a pleasure having you here this evening. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Then weights be heavy, but
Definitely.
you can lift them.
Yep.
Yes, sir, brother. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Sounds good, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.